one of the key things in being a disruptor is actually bringing organizations and even leaders to a place where they can actually accurately recognize times are changing.
That's the kind of stuff that moves the needle, right? When we all show up and the work of God in that community is working through the entire community.
We want to make sure that our churches are not just surviving, but our predominantly African-American churches are thriving.
This is Pod Strangely Warmed, a place where we tell the good Methodist story, where we have conversations that invite followers of Jesus to seek after that loving, just, and free world that God imagines for us all, and have a little fun along the way. Hi, and welcome back to Pod Strangely Warmed. I'm Daniel Hawkins, your host, and we are on location this week at Hamilton Park United Methodist Church for the Shifting the Atmosphere Conference. I'm super excited to be joined today by Reverend Christian Washington and Reverend Derek Jacobs. Derek is a friend of the pod and frequent guest of ours, and so we're thankful that you are back. And Christian, we want to welcome you to Pod Strangely Warmed.
Great to be here.
You'll need to forgive Christian. He's a Dodgers fan, not a Rangers fan, but he joined us on Team Anti-Astros. So we can find commonality there, and it will all be well.
That would be Trastros, but we continue.
Yes, the Trastros. Yes, good stuff. Christian, thank you so much for taking time. You are working with the Black Church Academy, which is an initiative of the annual conference and providing coaching for a lot of different things. Derek's going to tell us a little bit about that here in a little bit. But can you begin by just introducing yourself to our Horizon Texas Conference family, giving us a little window, other than the baseball team you root for, to who you are and the work you do?
Well, it's Christian Washington. Quite a few years now ago, I founded a consulting organization called Real Coaching Incorporated. That was the first to incorporate what I did in corporate America, which was rapid solutions strategy on a very high level, exclusively for the faith-based world and the faith-based community. I happen to be Methodist. United Methodist is my tribe.
Okay.
And in the midst of that, I found myself doing quite a bit of consulting to my tribe in the Wesleyan world. And that brought me here. I mainly focus on organizational change. People would call me a disruptor, if you will. Yeah. But always moving towards executing and moving not just to knowing what we should do, but actually getting organizations and individuals to do what they will do, or get to a place where I'm actually going to execute on it, which I think is where most of the issue is, not getting to the solution, but actually executing on it. So that's what I do. I'm from Compton, California, so I'm a Dodger fan from the cradle to the grave. You can add the Lakers to that for those who want to hate.
Luka trade, we're still grieving around here. We're still grieving the Luka trade.
And that's okay. We are not. And also USC Trojan fan, right on.
So Lakers went down last night, by the way.
Hey, down?
They lost last night.
Down?
They're not down in the series, but they're getting ready to be tied going back to Houston. But
you sound like a Cowboys fan.
I'm not a Cowboys fan.
It's good.
Yeah, irrational exuberance. I'll take it.
Now, you are a good Methodist because you like a good acronym, right? Real Coaching Solution is an acronym.
Yes.
Tell us what it stands for.
Rapid Experiential Adaptation Labs.
Rapid Experiential Adaptation Labs. I've been in church for a while, and I know you have too, and Derek, I know you have too. Rapid adaptation are two words that don't go with church very well or very often.
No, but actually, truthfully, it does not even go with corporate America as much as you would think. There are so many stories. Read the book Bold. Read some of the books of some of Senge's. What you hear about all these organizations that had the elixir. They had it, and they rode on that too long and missed what was next. And even miss what was now. Okay. One of the key things in being a disruptor is actually bringing organizations and even leaders to a place where they can actually accurately recognize times are changing, something needs to change, something new needs to be done. And the work I do we have ways of getting organizations there.
Yeah. Now, I was reading on your website, Rudy Rasmus, one of your endorsers and big Methodist pastor, said you were able to do in one weekend 3 years worth of strategic or work that would have taken them 3 years to do. That'll grab a headline in the United Methodist Church.
And if you think about it, that case is an incredible case. It's a downtown church that was thriving, going really well, but downtown was redeveloping. And what happens when your demographics change dramatically and you've been built on a community that's fairly homogeneous?
Right.
In this case, a little different in that a lot of the people that were part of St. John's and still are houseless people who are living right around in a very concentrated area around the church. But when you're building stadiums, a new convention center, you're going to drive all those folk out or as far away as you can. So many things change downtown. Yeah. I went in and worked with them on, are we called to this geography? Are we called to this people group?
Ooh, yeah.
And if they move, should we move just like that? Should we move as well?
Yeah.
And we were able to, in a 3-day weekend, with a whole lot of previous opposition to any ideas about staying or going, to get them to a consensus where they decided not only are we staying, but we're going to double down, and instead of being as much about feeding, we're going to be about building housing and alternatives for people to come off the street, which is what they've done in spades since then. It was a great time, but that's what the work does. It truncates the time it takes by that disturbance phase, getting you to a place where you can see clearly, here's where we are, here's where we need to go, and we can see the gap now.
Okay.
If I can get you there, then it's a pretty rapid move to go from there to actually how we're going to execute what we're going to do.
That's really meaningful work. And I see very clearly why Derek and the conference said, Christian, we need you to walk with our churches through this season of disruption and change, right?
Yeah.
Derek, talk to us a little bit about the Black Church Academy and why Christian was the man that you needed to be on your team in the midst of this.
Well, he was a man with a plan, but as part of our work in the Center for Multiplication, we have many areas that we focus on in our churches, our local churches, and one of them is our predominantly African-American churches. And we want to make sure that our churches are not just surviving, but our predominantly African-American churches are thriving. And that's where the work of the Black Church Academy comes. We have churches that are predominantly African-American that participate in this initiative, and we did a search across the connection to see who would be a great consultant, coach, phenomenal leader who could come in and provide that coaching and that consulting and as Christian would say, move the needle. And Bishop Science would also say, move the needle.
Yep.
And who could do that in an effective way? And Christian, I knew Christian well before. I've known Christian for years. Matter of fact, we go all the way back to my church planning days.
Okay.
Christian was the original coach when we opened the South Campus out of St. Luke Community United Methodist Church, which eventually became the Village. Christian was the coach that got that off the ground.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, so I knew his work. We established a good friendship, and it was a no-brainer for us to bring Christian in. And he's been doing this work now with the Black Church Academy for almost 2 years.
Okay.
And the needle is moving.
Very good.
It's moving in a positive direction. So that's why we chose Christian, because who else would we choose?
Very good. That is
that's Cash App.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I can send you my cash tag.
D Jake. Rev D Jake.
Right. Oh, that's good. That's good. Tell me a little bit about that needle moving, right? We are at Pod Strangely Warm, the podcast that tries to tell the good Methodist story, right? What are some stories of hope and joy that you are seeing where renewal is coming to our churches and that spirit of new beginning is showing up?
That's on me, huh?
Yeah.
First of all, needle moving for me, and I think our definition of that is what Shazy years ago called fruitfulness, right? Maybe not measured exactly the same way, but part of this movement is, are you at a place where you actually accurately understand where you are right now?
Yeah.
Because the needle doesn't move otherwise. And if it does move, we have to also acknowledge that the needle can also move in the other direction.
Okay. Yeah.
Sometimes our fight is to keep the needle steady so it doesn't move in the other direction. Sometimes we're moving from a place that's below zero and having to move to the place. So we see the churches in this cohort as coming in different places and in different places along that spectrum. Some of them are in a place where they're probably in a transitional mode, We work with 2 churches in the Fort Worth area. Share a pastor. Both have amazing long heritage. Been in the communities for a long, long time, but the communities have changed. And as you already know, and I think other speakers have already started talking about, we are dealing with a bit of a actuarial tsunami coming. We're 3-4 generations in of our children going to college and not coming back, or finishing high school and not coming back with their families.
Right.
And because of that, these churches in Fort Worth both have a little older, seasoned congregations that are in decline and have been for quite a while. What has never been theirs was to figure out how possibly you can work more together, being 5 miles away from each other. Yeah. And we were able to do, as part of the academy, work with those 2 churches collectively to take them from a place where they're very divided and very much not seeing this as a collaboration to them virtually unanimously voting to merge.
Very good.
And sell one of the properties, build the assets from there, and have the ability to go into the other property and add on, and also add things like children's ministry and things like that could lead to the kinds of growth and fruitfulness that we're looking for all. Some churches are in transition, I call it. Some are in growth mode. We're sitting in one. That is actively growing and actively moving forward. So for them, it's more like, what is it about systems that can lock this in? And we both know it's, we lose so many people in the follow-up.
Right. Yeah. We've got a great front door ministry, but we don't shut the back door.
Yeah.
Right.
Amen.
And so people will leave this conference, for example, and they've left our cohort knowing how to maximize Easter, how to maximize Mother's Day, how to maximize Christmas, Advent, Lent. And in those times, they spend a lot of time in creating cultures of invitation, radical hospitality, and those things work. Having your music on point, having things move together the way it should on those big days. Yeah. Big front door. What we're having to really implement now and work hard on now is the utilization of follow-up as not just a next step, but just part of the culture. AI tools help with that quite a bit. Right now, I'm hoping more and more, we'll be talking about that more and more with our cohort going forward. Things that, the agentic kind of things that can lock in follow-up for you. But the bottom line still comes down to there are churches that are poised to grow and are growing that are part of this as well. Last one I'll talk about is did some work downtown directly with one of our churches, St. Paul, in the Arts District, Reverend Cantrice Robinson. And I got to spend a weekend with them. We can do a lot in a weekend. Yeah. And this is a church that I think has one of those best kept secret kind of churches. 300 students from across the street at the Performing Arts Academy come through that church every week for an after-school thing on Wednesdays. 300 kids.
That's awesome.
They feed scores and scores of houseless people on weekends with their nonprofit that does essentially kind of bread of life kinds of ministry. And it's, how do you now see that as big a metric as how many people show up on Sunday?
Sure. Yeah.
And how do you start to shift your mentality to saying that this kind of thing is what we can build on? Because 300 kids have 300 families, or families, what have you. And does that look like ministry as much as what we do on Sunday? We can work on Sunday. We're working on that now.
Sure.
We'll do a whole lot of things with regard to music and what have you. But it still comes down to, if you're one of those places that the community wouldn't even know you left if you left, or weep if you left.
Right.
We've got to fix that. And this is, again, a church in growth mode, what have you. Those are just a few examples of the number of churches that have different places or coming in from different places. And we're just we're saying move the needle looks different for them. Yeah. But nevertheless, all of them we all need to move the needle and come as fruitful as we can be.
Moving the needle and thriving churches. It's a holistic understanding.
Yes.
Derek, I know I've heard that from the conference any number of times, right? We care about how Sunday goes, right? But it's not the only thing as a part of the conversation. Fruitfulness and faithfulness manifests in a lot of different ways. And each church has got its own unique kind of social context, its own unique kind of opportunity base that have just been formed over the years, right? Yes. I remember when Dr. Faison came on to tell us about the ministry at St. Paul, right when she was appointed to the cabinet, it was powerful to hear about that, the Wednesday with the students for the very first time. Just an incredible opportunity, born on years of faithfulness, right? There's a trust that has to build with the community over time before those students are showing up in that kind of way. That's right. And so really meaningful stuff. We tend to be a podcast where our audience is Methodist nerds, right? If Pod Strangely Warm didn't give that away, it's just our community. We'll own that.
Quite Wesleyan.
Right, quite Wesleyan, right? Yeah. For better or for worse. And so, as Methodist nerds, we're prone to lock in. We have a lot of lay leaders and a lot of pastors listen to this. Tell us a little bit about the work that's happening here this week and the way that forms and shapes kind of the visible outward presentation of church, but also kind of some of the inward mechanics that those lay leaders, those kind of church nerds, are more actively engaged and involved with.
For me, I travel all over the country. I speak at a lot of churches. I speak at a lot of churches inside our connection, and this is just what I do. And in observing that, what I observed is the largest gap, especially in the smaller ones, was their worship experience was either kind of caught in a time warp.
Okay. Yep.
Where I could have been walking in there in 1985, 75, 65 possibly, or it was just not connecting to younger people at all.
Okay.
At all. And in seeing that, I noticed that there are other churches that were exceptions. There are always these like positive deviants.
Sure.
Like you see all these smaller churches where it's just really feels like it's all the same and it's the same liturgy and the same kind of okay. And I wouldn't want to go there either. My kids wouldn't want to go there. But then every now and then you run into one that's saying, hey, look, we don't have music, but we have really good tracks that we use.
Okay. Yeah.
And we sing on these tracks really, really well. Hey, we got screens, so we use our screens to make it congregational, so we can all sing together and do those kinds of things together. We are extremely welcoming. You come in here, if you're new, you're gonna get hugged 15 times, and I gotta make you say anything, but everything's really, really great that way. The service is a tight 1:15 or less.
Right.
They don't use a whole lot of jargon. They really are saying, if there are 2 kids here, we got a place for them.
Right.
Type thing. I've seen that in smaller churches where 50 people were showing up.
Right.
And so it wasn't about critical mass as in larger amounts of people or larger amounts of money. It became really about understanding all these pillars of fruitfulness, I think, that we're talking about here during this time, which is also what we focus on in the Black Church Academy. First is hospitality, from the parking lot to the parking lot.
Okay.
Have you been touched by people? Hospitality, number one. Number two, we put technology. It's interesting that the screens, the sound, and especially for streaming online.
Right.
Are we using enough close-ups? Are we making it so the person who's there feels like they're actually there and not watching it from the cheap seats as far back as possible?
Right. The all 22 view is great for watching football tape, but not for the actual TV experience. And the same is true for worship, right? The single camera, 30 feet at the back. You don't want to feel like you're sitting on the very back row or even behind the back row.
Right.
Right.
It feels like it's a small thing, but it's even things like whether or not the voices sync in your iMac.
Yeah.
You see the visuals of people, but are the voices syncing with them and what have you? It can be very off-putting if you're new, especially if you're new. Then music and worship arts, and we look at those together with preaching.
Okay.
That those two should be seamless. They should be working together to preach the same sermon.
Yep.
If you will, to be essentially full parts of the full renderings of the main idea, at least, and what the text is saying here. But now you get it both in visuals, you get it in music, and then finally you get it in the preach word.
Yep.
And then finally, the fifth pillar is follow up. It's systems.
Yeah.
And most importantly, what we're teaching hard and moving hard on is that you finish a Sunday knowing what the next step is.
Okay.
That you don't leave Sunday. If you want to get nerdy about it, your class or your society is activated and is much a part of your life as your Sunday worship experience.
Okay.
So you know what's going to happen class-wise. And I'm just using some Wesleyan terms just to show that I've got the bona fides. But but the point is that if Sunday finishes and I've had this great experience, it's imperative that you let me as a new person in particular know. Here's what's happening Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah. Here's something. Hey, by the way, if you're in a wedding, a marriage, do you want to work on something around communications? We're doing a marriage communications class over here.
Right.
We've already exegeted what you need.
Yeah.
Every year, and so now we're trying to put that into practice and give you that next step. So that's what coming to a worship symposium like this. I know Junius B. Dotson is probably very, very happy right now
yes.
that his name is being carried on about this in particular, and seeing this this gap close for fruitfulness in worship. That's for us became a major pillar of also our BCA. So we made sure they're here. The conference is one of the big sponsors of this conference, and we made sure that we made it financially feasible for all of our churches that are part of BCA to be here and experience all this together.
Very good. Derek, what is your hope that some of our churches can take home and in this conversation? We've heard the framework of the conversation. What is one of your hopes that our communities are taking home?
So I think one of the most important takeaways from this conference, Shifting the Atmosphere this week, will be how do we create a seamless worship experience? And what does that look like? How do we use technology? Because again, I believe when I was pastoring, one of the ways that I preached this and taught this to my staff was Sunday morning is not the minor leagues. Sunday morning is the major leagues. It's really the time during the week when you're going to have most of your people there.
Right.
And the goal is each week is to hit a home run. Doesn't mean we always hit a home run.
Sure.
I struck out many times. But the goal is to hit a home run or even a grand slam every single Sunday. I believe that Shifting the Atmosphere, and even the work that you'll do tomorrow, that Christian will do tomorrow, he has a couple of labs tomorrow that he'll be doing tomorrow. And some of our Black Church Academy cohort churches will be here. And he's going to be doing some of that work. And when we leave here, I believe our churches will leave here encouraged to take some of this back. Now, not everything works.
Sure.
Not everything works for the context that, but whatever can work to implement that so that we can move that needle in a seamless worship experience.
Yeah. I love your metaphor of the major leagues, not just because we began our conversation talking about Dodgers and Rangers and Astros, or Trastros as we appropriately identified. The games in the major leagues happen with a team, right? And you mentioned earlier the music and worship art syncing up with the sermon. Whenever we can have those collaborate and give the same story, tell the same message, even if despite all of our best efforts and Spirit's best inspiration, the sermon's a C- today, but the music was an A+, they're going to leave with the message of the day on their heart, right? And when that's the kind of stuff that moves the needle, right? When we all show up in the team metaphor here, right? Everybody shows up trying to bring their best. And so any individual is not the one who hits the home run on a given day, right? Shohei doesn't hit one every game, although it feels like it sometimes, right?
Right, that's true.
But somebody does, right?
Yeah.
And the work of God in that community is working through the entire community to meaningful impact. I am so glad that this is happening, and I'm so glad that our communities are deeply engaging in this work. It's critical work for every church in this season to say, because the actuarial tsunami, as you named it, is a reality not just in our African American churches, it's in all of our churches, right? This church I'm serving right now is one where we're having to grow like crazy to outpace our funerals. Right. Yeah. And that's really kind of blunt to say, right? But it's just a reality of our existence. And so making sure that we're giving God our best and giving our neighborhood the best is a huge invitation for each of us. If someone who wasn't able to be here this week, but could receive kind of one take home or one thought to wrestle with in their own community, acknowledging that, communities are all different, right? Every social context is different. Derek, you said that you can't take everything home from a week like this. Right. What's one question you'd love our audience at home to be wrestling with as we wrap up our time?
Oh gosh, I have 5, but let's just do
Five's good. I'm good with 5.
Here's the big one. How do we treat the stranger? Is, if you want to get meta on all this, all the accoutrement is great music, signs up to say welcome home, and good AV and good preaching and good music. All that's great. But it's not if the stranger leaves there still feeling like the stranger. If the stranger feels like we walked on the other side of the street while they were bruised and beaten on the ground. But we had to get to church so we could do church so well. So the bottom line is that it's the little things that become kind of the actual answer for this conundrum, the conundrum of doing worship well and yet still being a real experience, especially for new people. I'm gonna steal from yesterday's opening plenary, and Reverend Dr. Rudy Rasmus said that in the midst of the revolution we will have with AI and more younger people being connected digitally with each other more than in person, and more of the work being driven by agents and learning machines, people are going to still want and even more crave actual connection with people. They're going to crave relationship and experience with other people. And church is uniquely positioned to fill that vacuum.
Yeah.
But it has to be a place where people do feel welcome and can feel belonging even before they believe.
Right.
And I think that's, if I'm saying the one thing I want people to say, is like, evaluate how you treat the stranger. And we could get scriptural about that all day.
Oh yeah.
But evaluate how you treat the stranger, and whatever you need to do to pivot what you're doing so the stranger feels like they can belong and feels welcome, make that your business right now.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Christian, thank you so much for your time, both today, but over the course of the last couple of years and the upcoming years. Your investment in the Horizon Texas Conference is a gift, and we are thankful for it. Derek, also thank you for your time today and for your leadership in the annual conference, and for popping in on our churches to visit and managing to pick days when we're feeling good and be able to offer our best. It's a good deal. It's been a great conversation today. Christian, if folks wanted to learn more about your work or maybe connect with you at a church level or from a coaching standpoint, how would they connect with you?
You can go to my website, realcoaching.net. That's REALCOACHING, realcoaching.net. Find out everything you know.
Perfect. Christian, thank you again for being here. And thank you for being with us on this episode of Pod Strangely Warmed. Until next time, I'm Daniel Hawkins. This has been Pod Strangely Warmed. If you enjoyed our conversation today, know that you can find us anywhere you find podcasts. On Spotify, Apple Podcast, YouTube, any and all the places, we are there. So if you want to continue the good United Methodist conversation that you've been a part of today, find us, like us, rate us, review us, and share with a friend so that the good news that is happening right here in our own midst can amplify even more. Yeah, the Mavericks, we're hoping to win the lottery again. That's all we're hoping for at this point. So
that wasn't fixed.
No, there's no frozen envelope. This is not Patrick Ewing back in the day. It's all good.
I got you, man. But I've been doing this long enough to know I can fix it. I fixed it.
This is why we pay you the big bucks. You'll cut it out in post. It'll be fine.
Filter.
Yes. Hey, you get paid bucks.